There comes a time in every journey when the world grows silent, when the applause fades, when the friends who once cheered vanish into the shadows, and in that quiet you hear it, that voice of doubt whispering, "You can't do it." There is a moment in life when everything falls quiet, when the world that once seemed loud and full of encouragement suddenly goes still. The noise fades, the cheers disappear, and you're left standing in the silence of your own doubts. It's in that moment you begin to understand what it really means to be alone on your path. When no one believes in you, when the people you thought would always stand beside you begin to drift away, that silence can feel unbearable. It can make you question everything, your dreams, your purpose, even yourself. But that silence, that emptiness is not a curse. It is an invitation. It's the universe whispering, asterisk, now it's your turn to believe, asterisk. Because when others stop believing, it's no longer about them, it's about you. You have to find a way to stand tall when no one is watching, to work when no one is clapping, to keep moving forward when every reason to stop seems justified. That's where greatness begins, not in the noise of validation, but in the quiet of conviction. The silence of doubt is where you begin to meet yourself. You discover what you truly want, what you're truly made of, and how deeply your dream lives inside you. Every champion has stood in that silence. Every visionary has walked through that lonely night where no one saw the light they carried. The difference is, they kept walking. They didn't let the silence break them. They let it shape them. They learned to listen to a deeper sound, the steady rhythm of their own heartbeat reminding them they still have a fight left. When you find yourself in that quiet space, don't run from it. Don't search for the noise of approval. Stand still, breathe, feel the stillness. It's in that silence you'll hear the most powerful truth you'll ever know, that you are always enough, that you didn't need their belief to begin, and you don't need their permission to rise. The silence of doubt is not your ending, it's your beginning. It's the proving ground where ordinary people transform into legends, where the world's disbelief becomes the soil that grows your strength, and where you finally learn the sound of your own unshakable will. There's a strange kind of power that comes from being underestimated. When people look at you and see less than what you truly are, something begins to stir inside you. At first, it hurts. Their words cut deep, their doubts echo louder than your own thoughts, and for a while, you start to wonder if they might be right. But then something changes. Somewhere in that pain, a quiet fire begins to form. You stop chasing their approval and start focusing on your own growth. You stop trying to fit into the small box they've built for you and start breaking every wall they've ever put around your name. That's the power of being underestimated. It strips away the noise, the distractions, the need to please. It leaves behind only purpose. When they don't believe in you, you learn to work in silence. You learn to let your effort speak louder than your defense. Every insult becomes a rep. Every doubt becomes a reason to stay late, to go harder, to keep pushing when others would quit. And while they're busy underestimating you, you're building something they can't see, a version of yourself that's sharper, stronger, hungrier than ever before. Being overlooked becomes your advantage because no one sees you coming. They laugh now, but you're training while they rest, you're planning while they mock, and by the time they realize it, it's too late. There is beauty in invisibility. There is freedom in being doubted. When no one expects you to win, you can move without pressure, without the weight of expectation. You're free to fail, free to experiment, free to grow. You learn not to fear mistakes, but to master them. You start to understand that success is not about proving anyone wrong, it's about proving yourself right. The power of being underestimated lies in this. It forces you to find validation not from the world, but from within. It teaches you patience, humility, and persistence. It reminds you that belief isn't something you wait for. It's something you build brick by brick in silence until the day you step forward, not seeking their recognition, but knowing in your heart you were never small to begin with. Rejection has a way of cutting deeper than failure. Failure says you tried and didn't succeed, but rejection says you were never enough to begin with. It tells you that you don't belong, that your dream is too far, your voice too small, your vision too wild. And for a while you might believe it. You might sit there in the ruins of disappointment and wonder why the world couldn't see what you saw in yourself. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, something shifts. You begin to understand that rejection is not the closing of a door, it's the redirection of destiny. It's not the world pushing you down, it's the world preparing you to rise differently. Each no becomes a mirror reflecting not your weakness, but your will. It teaches you where to strengthen your resolve, how to sharpen your focus, and what it truly means to want something. When you face rejection and keep moving forward, you strip away the layers of comfort and illusion. You find out that you're stronger than your excuses, braver than your fears, and more determined than you ever imagined. Every time someone turns you away, you collect a piece of wisdom, a fragment of strength, a spark of defiance that pushes you further than approval ever could. There's a unique courage born from being told you're not good enough. It's the courage to rise without permission, to keep showing up when no one is watching, to build without applause. The people who thrive are not those who were never rejected, but those who refused to let rejection define them. They learned that every locked door is an invitation to build their own, that every ending is a test of endurance, and that no rejection can destroy a purpose that is truly yours. Rejection is painful, yes, but it is also powerful. It humbles you, it grounds you, it teaches you to listen to yourself, to fight for yourself, to believe in yourself when no one else will. It becomes the furnace that forges your strength, the lesson that matures your ambition, and the force that transforms your struggle into strength. In time, you stop seeing rejection as a wall and start seeing it as the foundation on which your victory is built. There comes a point when you get tired of hearing the same thing, that you're dreaming too big, that you should be realistic, that you should stay in your lane. At first, you might try to explain yourself, defend your vision, convince them to see what you see. But then one day you stop talking, you stop explaining, you stop waiting for someone to hand you permission to rise. That's when the fire of defiance is born. It's not anger. It's not rebellion for the sake of rebellion. It's the quiet, steady refusal to live smaller than your potential. It's the decision to keep moving forward, even when every voice around you says, turn back. The fire of defiance isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. It burns deep beneath the surface, fueled by every doubt, every laugh, every closed door. It's the moment you realize that the limits people set for you are not yours to accept. You start to understand that belief doesn't have to be borrowed. You can build it yourself from the ashes of disbelief. That's what makes defiance beautiful. It's not about fighting the world. It's about choosing yourself when the world doesn't. It's standing tall, not because someone believes in you, but because you finally believe in yourself. When you embrace that fire, everything changes. You stop fearing failure because you've already faced something harder being ignored. You stop chasing validation because you've learned to live without it. You start creating, building, dreaming for the sake of purpose, not applause. The fire of defiance gives you clarity. It reminds you that you're not here to prove them wrong, but to prove that your heart cannot be silenced. Every step you take in defiance of doubt becomes a declaration that you are still here, still standing, still fighting. That fire will carry you through the long nights and the lonely roads. It will whisper to you when no one else does. It will remind you that the greatest victories are born not from acceptance, but from resistance. The world may not understand your journey, but it doesn't have to. That flame inside you, that relentless refusal to quit, is the proof that you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to rise. There comes a moment when you realize that the disbelief of others has done something unexpected. It has transformed you. What once felt like rejection now feels like renewal. What once hurt now fuels you. Every time someone said you couldn't, you grew sharper, tougher, more determined. You began to shed the version of yourself that needed validation and stepped into the version that only needs vision. The transformation within doesn't happen overnight. It happens in the quiet hours when no one is clapping. It happens when you choose discipline over doubt, when you keep going after another setback, when you start believing in your potential more than in their opinions. Disbelief has a way of forcing you inward. It pushes you to dig deeper, to ask yourself who you really are when the noise fades. And in that silence, you start meeting the person you were meant to become, someone who doesn't need to be seen to keep working, someone who doesn't need to be praised to keep believing. You stop chasing what's easy and start pursuing what's right. You begin to measure progress not by how far others think you've come, but by how deeply you've grown inside. That's when transformation truly begins, when you realize that the world's doubt was never a wall, only a mirror reflecting how much strength you still had to uncover. As you evolve, the things that once broke you begin to build you. Failure turns into feedback. Delay turns into direction. You learn to move differently, calmer, wiser, quieter. You start trusting your process, your timing, your resilience. You begin to see that everything you thought was meant to destroy you was actually sent to develop you. Every disappointment carved out a new layer of character. Every moment of isolation taught you self-reliance. Every doubt pushed you closer to truth. This transformation is not about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you truly are before the world told you who you couldn't be. The disbelief of others becomes irrelevant because you've witnessed something they haven't, your own evolution. You've walked through the fire and come out refined, not burned. You've learned that real power doesn't come from proving, it comes from becoming. There comes a time when you finally understand that victory isn't about them, it's about you. For so long, you may have been driven by the urge to prove the doubters wrong, to show every skeptic that they misjudged you. But as you rise, as you climb through every setback and every silence, you begin to see the truth. Your success isn't a response to disbelief, it's a reflection of belief. The moment you stop fighting for validation and start fighting for purpose, that's when you truly win. Winning isn't about the applause at the end, it's about the endurance it took to get there, the nights you stayed up building when no one cared, the mornings you got back up after every fall. Victory beyond validation feels different. It's not loud or boastful. It's calm, peaceful, grounded. It's the quiet satisfaction that comes from knowing you didn't give up, even when the world stopped watching. You realize that the opinions that once defined you now mean nothing. The same people who doubted you will rewrite their memories, pretending they always saw your potential. But deep down, you'll know your strength wasn't born from their faith. It was born from your persistence. You didn't climb that mountain to be seen. You climbed it because you refused to stay small. As you stand on the other side of struggle, you begin to appreciate the pain that once haunted you. You understand that if they had believed in you from the start, you might have settled for less. Their disbelief forced you to dig deeper, to find that hidden gear, to push beyond what was comfortable. And that journey, that private battle, is what makes the victory real, because it's yours, entirely yours. Not borrowed, not given, not handed down, earned. And when the world finally looks your way, when they start to cheer and celebrate what you've built, you won't need to prove anything anymore. You'll simply smile, not out of pride, but out of peace. Because you'll know that the greatest triumph isn't proving them wrong, it's proving yourself right. You'll know that the win didn't come from being believed in. It came from believing, relentlessly, when no one else did.